Hi everyone, this is Senator Tammy Duckworth and you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I wanna watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. We are here for part 2 at AIPAC 17 here in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Convention Center. And I am here with actress, comedian, good friend, and former guest on our TV show more than once, Caryn Bark. Hi, Caryn. Caryn, is this the first time you've gone to AIPAC?
It is.
It is. So tell me, what brought you to coming to the AIPAC conference? What made it an inviting thing for you?
Well, you know, I've always wanted to go, and it usually falls on my birthday. It didn't this year, but I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I just have never gotten around to going, and then my daughter said, you know, Mom, I'd love to go to
Tallulah.
Yeah, Tallulah, fabulous Tallulah said, let's go to AIPAC, and so, of course, yeah, when your daughter wants to go somewhere.
This is great. So do you feel like you've always been an Israel activist at heart and with the things you do within the community, supporting an activist?
I actually do, yeah. Yeah, it's just been something I just feel.
So what do you think so far you would call the highlight of the conference for you?
Well, you know, it's so interesting that the Israelis are literally pulling water out of air, and Alan Dershowitz speaking about it was fascinating, and he's so enthusiastic. It's actually fun watching him. He's like jumping up and down.
He's great. He's great. You know, this year Benjamin Netanyahu is speaking by Skype, by satellite.
Yes.
In past years, he was here with us many times. President Obama's been here with us. We had Vice President Biden and now Vice President Pence here this year at this conference. And hopefully next year, President Trump is going to plan to be here, I'm told. What do you think is the pushing issue politically between Israel and the United States that we still need to work on? What do you think as an Israel activist, is your first time listening to all these speakers and all these different opinions of things that are going on? Because we have people from the left, people from the right, bipartisan, Republicans, Democrats. What issue do you think we need to fight for to bring us together?
Well, I love the bipartisanship of the whole event. So, you know, everybody can be together because everybody loves Israel and wants the close relationship between America and Israel. What's very fascinating is the enthusiasm for the fabulous Nicki Haley, who will be speaking tonight, and I think I'm feeling that from both sides of the aisle, that everybody is happy that there's somebody. I mean, the UN, you know, has been so biased against Israel, and it's like a bully picking on Israel, and everybody's wanted some relief from that, and I think people, anytime her name is mentioned, the crowd goes crazy. And I think that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to hearing her speak tonight.
So while we've got you on the air, tell everyone, what's the name of your current show that you're in?
Well, that's actually very exciting. So I've, you know, at home I was known for my, well, actually I toured it all over the country for my Diary of a Skokie Girl.
Diary of a Skokie Girl, her famous one-woman show,
about Jewish
which everybody
culture.
knows about.
Yeah, and a few years ago I came up with the concept of a show called The Funny Old Broads.
Now, this is what I wanted to bring up,
Yeah.
why I wanted her to mention it, because she has now been picked up and she's going to be traveling the country doing Funny Old Broads. Congratulations on that, and on all you do. You know, it's good to be not just a fan, but a good friend.
And our offices, we're neighbors.
And we're neighbors too. Listen, thanks for being with us. We are going to be right back. Caryn Bark right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug in Washington, D.C.
U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nicki Haley.
Ambassador, I think they're a little lukewarm on. It's not sure what the reception is going to be like. So let's pick up on where I left off in my introduction. That statement you made following the meeting, Security Council meeting on the Middle East. Were you surprised when you saw about the attitudes and discussions on the Middle East at the UN, and what could be done to change it?
I was confused. It was totally bizarre because in my first month, talking about the Middle East, there's a lot to talk about. And whether you're talking about Hezbollah or ISIS, all the issues in Syria, which is, a problem, that's what I expected us to talk about. I didn't expect an Israel bashing session. And literally listening to each member say the same thing over and over again, I knew they said it was bad, but until you hear it and you see it, you just can't comprehend how ridiculous it is.
So, a lot of people here are just getting to know you for the first time. The theme of our conference this year is Many Voices, One Mission, celebrating the diversity of the pro-Israel cause. Can you talk a little bit about how you started to learn about Israel, your affinity for Israel?
Well, I am the daughter of Indian parents who reminded my brothers, my sister, and me every day how blessed we were to live in this country. And the truth is, I have seen so many similarities between the Israeli culture and the Indian culture. We're very close-knit. We love our families. We have a strong work ethic. We believe in professionalism and philanthropy and giving back. So that's all the good things. We're aggressive, we're stubborn, and we don't back down from a fight.
So I want to talk about some policy issues you're dealing with. You recently said that any resolution of the Syrian civil war should not leave Iran in any control of territory or influence in territory where it could pose a threat to America's allies, including Israel. So from your perspective at the UN, what is the attitude about the enforcement of the Iran deal and how to hold Iran accountable? Most importantly, how do you hold Iran accountable for the deal and for the threats it's posing?
It's concerning, and the reason it's concerning is because when the Iran deal took place, all it did was empower Iran, and it empowered Russia. And it emboldened Iran to feel like they could get away with more. You can put sanctions on a country. To take sanctions away, it's very hard to go back and put sanctions back on. So what we have said is we're going to watch them like a hawk. We're going to make sure that every single thing they do is watched, processed, and dealt with. But my concern is you are seeing a lot of love for the Iran deal in the Security Council. And that's unfortunate. And why that was ever allowed to go through, why that was ever passed is beyond me. And it's terrible.
I want to quote from your first remarks, your first public remarks as ambassador. You said, regarding those countries, those nations that don't have America's back at the UN, I think everyone was sort of stunned when you said this, because you said, quote, we're taking names. You said, we're taking names and we will make points to respond to that accordingly. So specifically, what can the United States do? What can the ambassador for the United States do to hold countries accountable to, as you said, to address the fact that many of them don't have America's back at the UN?
You want to see my list, don't you?
Yeah. We only have a little bit of time, but you know.
Basically what it comes down to is I'm not there to play. And what I wanted to make sure of was that the United States started leading again. And leading isn't saying and doing things when it's comfortable. Leading is saying and doing things when it's not comfortable. So the goal was have the backs of our allies. Never again do what we saw happen with Resolution 2334 and make any question. Resolution 2334 happened and the U.S. abstained, the entire country felt a kick in the gut. We had just done something that showed the United States at its weakest point ever. Never do we not have the backs of our friends. We don't have a greater friend than Israel. And to see that happen was not only embarrassing, it was hurtful. And so what I can tell you is everyone at the United Nations is scared to talk to me about Resolution 2334. And I wanted them to know that, look, that happened, but it will never happen again. So to answer the question on what can we do at the UN, we can do a lot. The power of your voice is an amazing thing. So one, changing the culture of the UN is very important. And the way you change the culture of the UN is the United States tells them what we're not going to put up with. We start to change the culture to what we should be talking about. And then we actually act on what we say. I wear heels. It's not for a fashion statement. It's because if I see something wrong, we're going to kick them every single time. We're kicking by number one, putting everybody on notice. Saying that if you have our back, we're going to have the backs of our friends, but our friends need to have our back too. If you challenge us, be prepared for what you're challenging us for, because we will respond. The next thing we did was we said, the days of Israel bashing are over. There are a lot of threats to peace and security, but you're not going to take our number one democratic friend in the Middle East and beat up on them. And I think what you're seeing is they're all backing up a little bit. The Israel bashing is not as loud. They didn't know exactly what I meant outside of giving the speech, so we showed them. So when they decided to try and put a Palestinian in one of the highest positions that had ever been given at the UN, we said no, and we had him booted out. That doesn't mean he wasn't a nice man. That doesn't mean he wasn't good to America. What it means is, until the Palestinian Authority comes to the table, until the UN responds the way they're supposed to, there are no freebies for the Palestinian Authority anymore. So then they tested us again. And a ridiculous report, the Falk report, came out. I don't know who the guy is or what he's about, but he's got serious problems. Goes and compares Israel to an apartheid state. So the first thing we do is we call the Secretary General and say, this is absolutely ridiculous. You have to pull it. The Secretary General immediately pulled the report, and then the director has now resigned. That says you can't get anything done at the UN, they need to know there's a new sheriff in town.
Last question. I think this crowd would be thrilled to hear you for hours, but we're going to days, weeks, months. South Carolina signed into law the first anti-BDS legislation signed in any state capital, South Carolina, any state capital in America. This really is close to your heart. Now, with your new position, what do you think could be done to continue and escalate the fight against those who want to delegitimize Israel through the BDS movement?
I think we have to show how absurd it is. We have to basically show, just in common sense terms, if you want to boycott North Korea, I get it. If you want to have divestments and pull something away from Syria, do it. If you want to talk about other issues that we're dealing with, I can understand that. But Israel? You know, and number one, I appreciate all the support and kindness and everything that you've given to me. But all I did was tell the truth.
like her. She's great.
You want to continue to support me, which I greatly appreciate, understand that by telling the truth and showing the power of your voice and putting action behind it, there's nothing we can't change. So with the BDS movement that we were able to stop in South Carolina, we're going to continue to take that to the UN and make sure that they understand that is not what we need to be focused on.
Taped with Rabbi Doug, and I am here with Yishai Fleisher, Baruch haba. He is here, spokesman for the city of Hebron, in the midst of the AIPAC 17 convention. They've come together as a group to celebrate the 50th re-Junification of Judea and Samaria based on the 1967 Six-Day War, and now 50 years, we've had Hebron back, we've had Yerushalayim back as a whole. What do you think this means to history, to the Jewish people, and what is the future of Hebron since you're the spokesman of Hebron?
Well, we've waited for this future for a very long time. It's 2,000 years since we've been at home in the homeland, and you know, really the Six-Day War is the continuation of the Independence War. It's the end of it. The Six-Day War is when we return to the ancestral homeland, to the essential homeland, I like to call it, and the return to it meant that we're going to start living where our parents lived, and yet there was a lot of doubt whether we should continue to stay there. And there continues to be doubt. There are people, detractors, who don't believe we should fight for our rights in Judea and Samaria. They think that we should get out and create a two-state solution instead. And we are here to say that we're against a two-state solution, that we're for living in ancestral homeland. We have a problem with a huge amount of Arabs living in this area, a minority living in our country. We're going to have to figure out how to give them rights and how to keep Israel secure. We're going to do it.
Other spokesmen for Hebron have been on our show before, David Wilder, Noah. They've talked about the expansion, the rebuilding of the Jewish community in Hebron, and so on and so forth. Is the Jewish community of Hebron still growing? Is there still expansion going on? Is there more land being built for families to live in Hebron today? Because obviously, as the years go by, we wonder, for those who haven't been in Hebron in a long time, we know that there was the small Jewish community of Hebron, the Avram Avinu neighborhood. How is that all built up in the last number of years?
Right now, we have a big project coming up, which we just got clearance to plan, 29 new apartments in Hebron. That's going to be an incredible boon to the community, and that's the next step. We're going to build a new center complex and building, and we're going to keep moving forward. We have about 800,000 visitors every single year. People are very interested in living in Hebron and seeing Hebron grow. We're going to overcome, the challenges that we have from the jihad and from people who are afraid to hold on to our ancestral homeland. We're going to win politically. We're going to win through spirit. We're going to win through joy. We're going to win through building, and that's going to be achieved in the next 50 years.
Beautiful. So tell me, what is the municipal and psychological connection between up on the hill with Kiryat Arba and Hebron? I know people come down to the Marathon I love for Shabbat every week. What is the connection between Kiryat Arba and Hebron today?
It's two different regional councils, two different areas, but at the end of the day, it's one place, one kind of municipal area. You have Kiryat Arba, which is its own town, 8,500 people, and you have Hebron, which is about 1,000 people. They're two different governmental divisions, but at the same time as a people, we're really one, and that makes a block of about 10,000 Jews within a block of 160,000 Arabs.
And tell me about the two sections of Hebron, the Arab side of the section, the Jewish side of the section. Have things become more peaceful or more relaxed between those two, or is it like an up and down thing? How is it going right now?
When our army is strong, we are safe, and our challengers understand that we're not going anywhere. When we're weak, then the jihad rises up against us and tries to destroy us. Our job is to continue to be strong.
Beautiful. Well, I wish you much success. This is a beautiful gathering here in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the 50th anniversary of not only the reunification of Yerushalayim, but of Judea and Samaria. This is Yishai Fleisher, spokesman for Hebron, and thanks for coming. Good to see you 2 years in a row in Washington, and stay with us here on Taped with Rabbi Doug.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
The UN in December. The U.S.-Israel relationship was in a terrible state when the new administration took office. We all agreed on the importance of reaffirming our relationship and charting a new way forward. But to do so, I believe we first need to examine what went wrong over the last 8 years. And that starts at the beginning. Former President Obama and I have very different opinions about America's role in the world. It won't surprise you, any of you, to hear that. We disagreed about the value of our alliance with Israel. We disagreed about whether the post-war order remains in our nation's interest. We just had a fundamentally different approach to the world. President Obama formulated policy based on fulfilling campaign promises made in 2008 and pursued politically expedient solutions to whatever stood in the way. That was his approach. In his first week in office, he signed a series of executive orders that made this clear. He attempted to close Guantanamo without a credible plan for either the terrorists housed there or the terrorists we need to detain there in the future. He pushed to withdraw from Afghanistan and Iraq without regard to threats posed by the Taliban or Al-Qaeda, or the fragile political situation in either country, especially Iraq. The absence of American leadership and presence created a strategic vacuum filled by countries like Russia and China and Iran. All of them grew more aggressive toward us. The natural result of Obama's strategic imperative to avoid conflict with other nations, even when American interests were challenged, was this. Our enemies learned not to fear us, our allies learned not to trust us, and friends like Israel felt abandoned. But my friends, today we have the chance, really the need, for a fresh start. The U.S. and Israel share many values. We share many goals. We share many interests. One of which is seeing the end of ISIL's ability to control territory in the Middle East and to attack beyond the Middle East. Just consider what the spread of ISIL, along with the wider conflict between Iran, its Shia proxies, and our Sunni partners, has meant for Israel. ISIL in the Sinai threatens Israel's western land border. The civil war in Syria has brought a group sympathetic to ISIL to Israel's north. And of course, Russia and Hezbollah are active within Syria. Iran strives to expand its area of influence through the use of Shia militias within Iraq, now employed to the west of Mosul, and through the use of other Shia fighters within Syria, and through supporting Shia proxies in Yemen and Lebanon and Bahrain. Now, thankfully, the new administration has now undertaken a counter-ISIL policy review, and the coalition has also made progress in taking ground from ISIL. We know that U.S. commanders are now planning for the liberation of Raqqa, the capital of ISIL's so-called caliphate. Like you, though, I understand what the liberation of Raqqa hardly represents the end of the conflict. The fight against ISIL will go on, and the Iraqi security forces will still require coalition assistance. Importantly, last week in testimony before the Senate, Secretary of Defense Mattis supported maintaining a residual force inside Iraq. We all know such a presence can bolster Iraqi forces, lend stability, deter and watch for further Iranian advances, and provide reassurance to our regional allies. That's important because, as we remember, ISIL's predecessor, Al-Qaeda in Iraq, was an incredibly resilient terrorist organization. When we withdrew from Iraq on a political timetable, it gave AQI the space and time to regroup and ultimately grow into ISIL. We can't make that mistake again. What Syria looks like post-Raqqa matters immensely to both of our countries. Which groups will fill the void? How will the regional Sunni-Shia balance be effective? Will the Shia militias postured west of Mosul create a land bridge to Syria? There are many, many questions. There are, as yet, few answers. But I want you to know this. Whatever post-Raqqa Syria looks like, the United States will stand with Israel.
That's it for part 2 at the AIPAC Convention 17 at the Washington Convention Center, Washington, D.C. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see former shows on the web. If you want to email us, info@tvrabbi.com is the email address. Hope to see you for part 3 right here next time on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
This is Idan Raichel at AIPAC.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.